Hey guys, DB McCrae. We're going to finish up on criminal interviews and interrogations. We were talking about the Reed method. When you have your identified suspects, we were talking about 6 employees who may have taken money from a cash register. Remember that? Well, each of them gets interviewed separately. There's going to be 15 scripted questions that each of those 6 are going to be asked. And based upon their responses to those questions, and we talked about the 2 most critical, can you give me a reason why somebody would have told us? And the other one is, what should happen to the person who did this? So based upon those responses, this is the person who you've identified as the primary suspect. This is the person who most likely took the money. Well, now it's time to kick from an interview over to an interrogation. Now, under a Reed method, and I am, once, this is like the first time I'm actually going to try to keep it short. I keep saying that, but it never seems to happen. Under the Reed method, after you have identified your primary suspect based upon these 15 questions, you go into the interrogation, and the methodology is called direct confrontation. I mean, you hit them right between the eyes. Our investigation has confirmed that you're the person who took the money from the cash register. You see what that is? You are being accused of it. You're the person who broke the law. You're the person who committed the crime. And how is, for instance, an innocent person going to react to that accusation? How would you react to that accusation? Think about it. You'd explode in anger, right? I mean, people who are innocent, if you get into that direct confrontation, they're going to get so angry that they're actually going to take control of the interrogation. Well, you pretty much know that's not the person, so it's back to the drawing board. But if you use that direct confrontation, our investigation clearly shows you're the one who took the money, and the person comes back with a weak denial. No, I wouldn't have done anything like that. No, that's your person. Now it's a matter of going into the interrogation proper, okay? And under Reed, after direct confrontation, and you get a weak denial and the body language and eye movement and everything else, you're going to have to get them over the hump. And it's called theme development or overcoming objections. And for instance, when I was interrogating somebody over poaching a deer, what I would do is say, no, this isn't like you planned it. This was just spontaneous, right? Scott, you didn't plan this, did you? It was spontaneous, right? I mean, people can understand that. Then it comes down to just a judgment and error. Another one I used to use was, you didn't shoot that deer because you're selling it. Are you involved in selling deer, maybe market hunting, or was this just for your use? See, you're giving them alternatives, and that's how you overcome objectives. So be aware of that, okay? And then the other thing that affects the ability of the interrogator to secure a confession, and this makes sense, is the seriousness of the crime that the person is accused of. I mean, if you're in a position of leadership and you might have, you have everything to lose. I mean, it's your reputation, it's your livelihood, it's your freedom. So it's obviously going to be more difficult to secure a confession based upon the seriousness of the crime or accusation. But even with interviewing or interrogating somebody in terms of game violation, people would still lie because they just don't want to get in any trouble. So theme development and overcoming objections is a really important role, because now you're providing them one alternative versus the other, and it's a lifeline. Yeah, you're right. No, I wasn't selling deer. It was right there, and a 5-second mistake. And then you go on your way to, like I said, a confession. So that's the Reed method. 15 questions in the interview, direct confrontation in the interrogation, and then you go from there. Now, the other method in terms of interviews and interrogations that I was trained under is called the IPTM method. And just in a minute, the difference between IPTM and Reed is where they use under Reed direct confrontation. The IPTM method says no, 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 no. You ease into it and you build rapport. But one of the things you're doing as you're building rapport is now you're getting into this full-blown eye assessment, which way do their eyes move when they're asked a question, and this way is visual recall, this way is auditory recall, one is where you're feeling emotion. If they go one particular direction on visual, it means that there's deceit, where one is truthful. And what it comes down to is essentially whether they've been asked a particular question. See, they don't have time to rehearse or prepare for it. A question they've never been asked before, if they're lying, their eyes are going to go a particular direction, okay? So you can use that to kind of start to button down and focus your interrogation. Now, between the two, I can tell you guys, I don't remember once using Reed. Now, it doesn't mean I just cast it aside. I picked out parts that worked for me, but a lot of it was based upon my personality and what worked for me and what my comfort zone was. And that's why I tended to go through IPTM. I could build rapport. That's something that I was far more comfortable with. And of course, doing eye assessment, body language, and that's it. I'm sure there's more methodology out there, but that's what I was trained under, Reed and IPTM. IPTM, building rapport, once you start doing that in particular, it becomes second nature, okay? So anyway, that's pretty much it. And remember, if a person's under arrest or otherwise in custody, Miranda warnings have to be read. That doesn't mean that if you don't read Miranda warnings, everything's suppressed. It just means that if you read Miranda warnings, anything they say after the warnings can be used against them in court. If you don't read Miranda warnings, that means when they're under arrest and they start puking all sorts of information, you cannot use that against them. That's what that means. It's not like, well, the law says you have to read Miranda warnings or everything goes away. And then the other thing is I've talked about is when you tell somebody and you mean it, you're free to leave and you don't have to talk to me. You can leave at any time. That removes the custodial aspect. So Miranda warnings are not required when you actually tell somebody and, again, mean it, that you're free to leave, you're not under arrest. There's the door. I'm looking forward to doing more of this, and I think I've made it pretty clear now that bad policing and bad cops, not only did they inspire me to write a 300-page expose on bad policing and bad cops, they've inspired me to do this kind of stuff so you guys know the tricks of the trade. Okay? Now, there'll be more where this comes from. So I'll talk to you later, and we'll see what else we can come up with, okay? You guys take care.